Hello, welcome back to the channel 12 Step Guide with Troy O. Today we're going to continue on our teaching series, Step 4 in Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm going to be relying heavily on notes today. In '98, I did good work on this, but there's a lot I missed. And we're going to cover that next chapter. What are we working on today? First, I went to thousands of meetings in Alcoholics Anonymous 40 years ago, 38 years ago, 35, you get the idea. And there's something, I went to all kinds of meetings, big book, step book, speaker discussion, open, closed meetings, chaired meetings. And there's something that I don't recall ever hearing. And that is someone in any meeting saying, I'm on step 4, now about sex, column 4. Hey, I didn't even hear the easiest one, the resentment list, where there's examples, column 1, 2, or 3. I simply never heard it. When I was going to meetings, even the first real attempt, I was there to try to get it right. I was a piece of shit when I was out there drinking. And I'm going to tell you, because I didn't get this exposure to this in early recovery, it took 20 years for some of this stuff to seep up, for me to see it. While I'm teaching you this stuff, this series, things are seeping up. I get to see what kind of piece of shit that I was. Had I been able to see this stuff and deal with it early on, when I knew people's names, I toured the country. I don't know who these people were. I met a lot of wonderful people. I was a pretty motivated individual and pretty capable. I got sober at 22, but I got around plenty. So when I say I got to meet a lot of great people, what I'm telling you is I got to burn a lot of great people in a variety of areas. So while this column today is going to be specific to sexual, the idea is broaden them out. It doesn't just begin or end here. So I offer that because I don't want that to be the case for you. I don't know when I developed a conscience, if that's what you want to call it. My subconscious apparently knew it, for it to eventually seep up 20 years later and say, oh my goodness, what a piece of shit. Anyway, you get the idea. So today we're working Alcoholics Anonymous, now about sex, column 4. You know, there's something I did hear in meetings, plenty. I'd hear how it's a selfish program. Despite how many times Bill said you'd lose interest in selfish things, self-seeking will slip away. It's an altruistic program. That's a unselfish or selfless program. I'd hear people again and again say, people on step 1 say, it's a selfish program. Well, I'd like to clarify. Maybe whatever you had to do that day to get to a meeting you might feel was selfish, but the program itself, I assure you, is not. One of the 9-step promises, self-seeking will slip away. We'll lose interest in selfish things. Step 12 is not a selfish step. So I just want to offer that insight, because there's like a ton of me, and you know what? You want to talk about me? Let's do that today. Am I outside? So wait, we keep the focus on ourselves. Well, you know, there's an interesting thing about Bill's story. Bill was seeing himself through the eyes of his sponsor. What do I mean by that? When I identified Bill's step 1, like myself, he had admitted complete defeat. Bill seen this through the eyes of his sponsor, or the person 12-stepping him. He also said a little bit later on there was no more power in him being ABT, than me at that point. So while I am seeing things through your eyes, it will be clearing things up for me. Well, all right then, let's get started. Hey, all right. So in Alcoholics Anonymous, we'd read this particular chapter. They're like 13 pages, and I mean we'd buzz right through it, da 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 da, da and then we reviewed our own sex conduct over the past years. Where had we been selfish, dishonest, inconsiderate? Whom had we hurt? Did we unjustifiably arouse jealousy, suspicion, or bitterness? Well, let's stop there, because we'd have kept going. What do we want to know today? I want to get this right for you. Did we unjustifiably arouse jealousy, suspicion, or bitterness? That's all the reading today. So if someone understands that question and they're all set, meet us up at the next video. For the rest, let's understand what he's asking. And here's an important point, I think. Bill had some stuff to say 13 years later. And if you miss this, understanding that will be far more difficult. You might get there over time, as I did, but let's get there now. Let's understand what's going on. Let's deal with the stuff that we can to help ourselves get sober, to help those around us, to clear up the past. So, first question. And I guess let me suggest column 1 kind of trapped some ideas. Column 2 brought it forward. 3 digs in a little bit. 4 offers, I think, a new light. And I hope to teach this today in a credible way so that you can see both sides of it to better surface things that you would benefit by looking at. When I finally got a chance to look at this stuff, hey, look at, I was 9 years sober. I had other problems going on. Life's tough. Things happen, right? So I was dealing with some other stuff. I wasn't looking back in this deep history at that point. Apparently, I'm getting a better look at it these days as I teach this stuff. Did we unjustifiably arouse jealousy? We're going to take these one at a time. Let's first define unjustifiably. Without excuse or inexcusable, an unjust act, unjust character, unnecessary, unreasonable. Did your behavior cause jealousy in another in a manner that wasn't reasonable? And this is specific, mostly this area is about sexual partners. Again, let this stuff go to other areas too, even if it's, hey, you burned off a friendship, a friend got jealous because you stole their girl, things like that, or wanted to steal their girl. So this will be in the Alcoholics Anonymous Big Book, page 81 in the original book. In the newer books, it might be page 67 or 68. And on the screen, I've generated just fictitious examples for us to view. You can see column 1, the sexual partners. Column 2, had we been selfish, dishonest, inconsiderate. Column 3, whom had we hurt? And now column 4, did we unjustifiably arouse jealousy, suspicion, or bitterness? And you'll see just a couple of examples. I have a J, others got my attention, an S, suspected, accused, and then, of course, they denied the accusations. You get caught, ended in divorce. So the individual making the list is just trapping doors to recall things in the future to talk about further with a sponsor, spiritual advisor, counselor, clergy. And I've got another example there, and then I've got just some basic ideas under it for contemplation. So define jealousy: fearful of losing one's sexual relationship to someone else, emotionally painful, directly affecting one's happiness related to faithfulness of husband, wife, or lover, includes feelings unhappy or angry because someone you love seems interested in another person. There's another angle to it: being very possessive of someone you're sexually involved with or have sexual feelings for. So that's a different type of thing. In any respect, what's going on here? You love them, you care for them, you desire them, or somehow benefit from them, generally in this sexually. So let's look at the first. All right, because there's two sides of it. There's the side where you did these things, but there's the person there that's dominating and possessive, and they got their own issues they could benefit to work on. And but fettering stuff out isn't always that easy. So hopefully we can better do that. So a partner is jealous for no reason. They're controlling. This is one. We'll call that number one. And how does that manifest itself? Maybe they don't like you to talk to people. They interfere with your friendships, react oddly to phone calls, display no trust, but it is not justified behavior. They have a problem with themselves. So let's consider some other types, though. And largely, this is a program for Alcoholics Anonymous, this list, but I'm going to help us see both sides of this so that if this list doesn't do it for you, the information that you might uncover can go on a different list, resentment list, or whatever list. How about you flirting? You're in a committed relationship, you flirt with the waitress or people in public, or you dress provocatively where you're putting yourself on display as if to be looking for a mate, generally pushing the envelope where if the mate didn't push back, you might advance promiscuous behavior further. Meanwhile, not acknowledging the mate's valid concern. Yeah, I do these things, but it's not going anywhere. Maybe you're rubbernecking, skin flicks, that's looking around, looking at everything, looking at all the other, everything that interests you sexually. Or it's skin flicks, not actually agreed upon with the mate. You're watching skin flicks, but you're not watching them together. Or an external individual you bring into the relationship, not mutually agreed upon and balanced with the relationship. Look, I've been around, I've seen some things. I'm not endorsing any of this. I'm simply trying to cover things that happen out there, and some of it can be a little funky or different. There's a whole range of stuff. Maybe you previously cheated. We'll call that number three. Had a previous incident cheating or flirting, but it isn't who you are anymore. But what changed? Is the other party jealous from a historical event? Maybe the spouse needs a program. So these are pieces that are coming up from the past, and it's a very, very powerful area. This now again, we're talking about jealousy. We're talking about ways that you may have provoked jealousy or were provoked in a way that you could articulate or write down and better understand later. As you talk about this in step 5, you're not looking to make any big writing right now trapdoors. How about a dual relationship? And what I mean by that is you had a previous relationship, maybe it ended in divorce, you got kids, and you have a current mate, and they're left out. All this crap going on with the last one and the current, there's no room for the current one. And you can't even see that or don't care. You got too much going on. How about a rebound just after a relationship ends? You're off chasing for a new partner. So, in recovery, one way to countermand this, it's a selfish program business. Can you involve your spouse in your recovery more? Would that be a problem? Would they be interested? Would it be beneficial? Now, there's areas where maybe you can't because they interfere with your friends, get into everything, and just jam stuff up. And maybe in those areas that you don't think you can, that doesn't mean that they weren't affected by you by them. Maybe counseling may be more appropriate for you if you have a dominant spouse that you fear would interfere with your recovery process. You still can move this forward. You care about them. You're interested in the relationship. You want to try to make things right. So these are just ideas for contemplation. Here's another thing to consider. You're doing a moral inventory. If you are trying to involve your spouse, this could be a funky area. Might you risk a spouse who becomes aware of your inventory and says things like, oh, don't tell them this, don't tell them that? If so, why is that? Why should you not discuss this and that with a sponsor, spiritual advisor, counsel, or clergy? Might that be all the more reason to reconcile these issues here? Does someone fear shame, embarrassment, humiliation, exposure, the very things that might somehow keep the problem alive? And I'm not naive. I get it that most people, you don't want to air your dirty laundry. You're trying to look at this at step 5. We're not there now. You're trapping ideas. You're keeping yourself safe. You protect your list. But the thinking is at some point you're going to find someone that you can hash this stuff out with that can hear it and help you process it. And yeah, you're going to get into stuff. But you know what? If you're an alcoholic like I am, or this stuff is truly tearing you apart in your life, nobody's getting a balanced time out of it. Clear this stuff up. Understand yourself. Understand how you got here. Understand how other people feel. Understand what you've done to them. I assure you, your subconscious already knows. So let's move on to the second question. So if you can see some jealousy in any area there that you unjustifiably arose, or if you see jealousy that was there that you didn't justify, put it on another list, make a notation of it. Understand that too. Understand all sides of yourself and the people in your life and why and how. Hey, there could be someone that got jealous and it wasn't appropriate, Anyway. All right. Did we unjustifiably arouse suspicion? We're starting to amp up here. Jealousy, yeah, that you love them and there's something there to work with. Now suspicion, you've been having sex, but now they're suspecting you of violating the relationship. Well, let's define that. And first, the unjustifiable. Yeah, without excuse, or it's inexcusable, an unjust act. Did your behavior arouse suspicion in another in a way that it wasn't justified? Well, what is suspicion? Maybe we're suspecting a mate of a sexual something on little or no evidence. And I'm going to leave that open quite a bit. A sexual something on little to no evidence. So there's little to no evidence, but they're suspecting something. We're going to use another word now. Intuition. Let's define that. See if they connect. Knowing or understanding something without conscious reasoning, proof, or explanation. Unconscious knowledge, a gut feeling, second sight, pattern recognition at a subconscious level, or you understand something instinctively. A mother's intuition, a twin's connection. You just somehow suspect something or just know it or think you know it. Now, as with before, there's a person who's broken in that way, driven, but then there's the person that is on the money. You don't have proof, but something has drawn us to consider certain ideas, possibly acting on those toward accusation, one way or another. I'd like to use a quote now from a victim. Worse is when they try to gaslight you. Let's understand what's being said here. What does it mean to gaslight? An effort to psychologically manipulate, where a sexual mate causes another mate to question their perception of reality, leading to confusion, self-doubt, or contemplating one's own sanity. The words from a 1944 film. Husband trying to convince his wife she's insane. So something's going on here at the intuitive level, and we don't know which side, what's happened. Perhaps it's in your past. Do you even know that it happened? Is it, I didn't even, there's areas I just, in the best of situations, just in relationships, I just took years to realize the cues that I had missed along the way. That's all. In the best of conditions, in situations when I was drinking. And because I missed those, perhaps I took some of that into my recovery. Perhaps it contributed to some of the problems later because I never dealt with them. That's all. So back to this gaslighting. So from the victim side, you suspect they're cheating. Maybe you accuse them of it, and they deny and claim you're paranoid, jumping to conclusions, just making accusations, or it's your imagination. Maybe later you learn or suspect that it was true. Maybe some other scenario. Did their attempts at manipulation cause you to doubt yourself? This is all from a victim's perspective. And why am I doing this? Because I want the offender to see the possibilities that happened. And I also want the victim to understand how possibly things also happened. Two sides of the coin. It's a seesaw. On one side, you got the victim. On the other side, you got the offender, and they can trade roles. It can advance. The cycle can repeat. There's a whole variety of things. For example, I don't want to limit it to that, but for example. So did it cause you self-doubt? Did these thoughts and feelings affect your perception at a spiritual level? Perhaps even alter your intuition? Did it confront your perceptions spiritually or intuitively? How long has this been going on? How long have you been on the receiving end of this? What will it take to get to the truth? You suspect it, you're not sure. What's it going to take to get to the truth? And I believe there is a process. How about an offender's altered intuition? Now, this is the offender, or altered perception. How can that happen? What do we mean by that? What do I mean by that? Have you been using your intuition in such a way to alter another person's intuition? Is this a some sort of a game, if you will, at some odd level inside of us? Have you been using your intuition to figure out which gambling table to play, latest lottery ticket numbers, how to get the best deal for yourself, and to hell with everyone else? Giving your word and commitment to others, but your word doesn't mean much. Do you think your subconscious isn't aware of who you are? Are you controlling and jealous for no reason? Question mark. Do you need to look at this? You think a stable life comes out of that? In trust, controlling? Let's consider a few ways our intuition can be altered, disrupted, or all but destroyed. Have you been denying, cheating, or building up to it? Doing things resulting in damage, such as drinking, drugging, gambling, spending the money, lying, manipulating, accusing unjustly for your own gain, even denying a mate sexually for reasons you won't admit? Let's consider the promises in step 9. Do we understand how and why Bill would say we would intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us? Or we would know a new freedom and a new happiness, even comprehend the word serenity. What's he saying there? How did we get there? We showed up at a few AA meetings, said, I am Troy, I'm an alcoholic, and next thing my intuition's all set and I'm good to go. Well, I did 2 meetings a day for 5 years, and I'm here to tell you, I would have gotten a lot more out of it had I been exposed to this process. That largely doesn't happen in the meeting, Alcoholics Anonymous. It happens on the side, it happens at home, it happens with your sponsor. You come to the meetings and vent off a little bit to meet other people you can work with, help other people, engage in the process together. But this stuff isn't happening at the meeting. This is a more private, controlled setting that you're confronting this. It doesn't mean little pieces don't pop up. You talk a little bit about something in the meeting that comes up and vent off and try to get clear, and maybe others can understand things like that too. But Bill's suggesting things like intuition has returned to suggest that you had it, it was lost, and somehow you got it back. It's been restored. It's been repaired. Maybe you couldn't even trust it. Do you think you never had intuition? Are you standing in the way of it? If so, if you get out of the way, let's imagine that scenario, you finally get out of the way. Well, who else is standing in the way after you? So you could have a ways to go on that one. Here's a different question related to intuition. Was your intuition broken by another or an event? Have you fought it? Maybe it said go one way and you went another time and time again. Have you drank, drugged, gambled it away, or sex, eating, stealing, lying, cheating it away? Because I believe suspicion so much ties to intuition and affects the internal part of us, like a conflicted computer, if you will. Let's just visit some other ideas. Maybe you're flat out rejecting it while trying to reject guilt, humiliation, jealousy due to pain, trauma, or internal conflict causing your mind to be closed. Just as simple as, yeah, hey, I'll reject guilt and humiliation. It's that easy, right? Maybe that intuition is bothering you. Maybe that suspicion is eating you up inside. Just because we don't understand how something works doesn't mean it's not available to us. somehow others have it, but we don't, or we know damn well we used to have it and now we don't. What's up with that? Look, intuition could be as simple as maybe you smell something that another person puts off, some pheromone or something. We see it in animals. I don't know how it works, but I do know in varying ways it has helped me, as clear as a voice in my head saying stop the car, or other ways. But I've had it like not work. I'm not going to say, I will not sit around trying to figure out what the next megabucks number is. My goodness, if I hit it right one time and think I go spend a fortune and blame it on intuition. God did this to me, made it all fail. Is this maybe a good time we talk about the 9 step promises to be restored, have a renewal, or brand new, if possible, to intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us because we repair the damage. We take the time, we give ourselves the time, we care about ourselves, we decide that our word to ourselves is very important. It's everything. Because your word, you think your word to yourself's not, but to others it is. Well, try standing on very thin ice and telling all the people you care about, I'm here for you. You be there for you. And I assure you, then you can be there for others. And we'll get into it in a bit. Bill, it seemed strange to me that he was touching on so early about the concept of forgiveness, but I believe I understand it better. I believe the more we can see what Bill wrote through his eyes and why, the more we're going to understand what else he wrote. And if you think it's different, know where that is, be able to teach it to your sponsee. If you can't teach it and you don't know it and you don't know how you got here, you know what I'm saying? All right, then. Uh, let's move on to the last question for today. This one really amps things up. These amp up. They can connect to each other and do, obviously, but these each one amp up. Did we unjustifiably arouse bitterness? Did our sexual behavior unjustifiably arouse bitterness? Did our behavior cause bitterness in another for reasons we can't justify? Didn't have to happen because of something we did. Do you even know that it happened? Don't be 20 years later figuring out simple, easy stuff and cues and things. Again, in the simplest and best terms, I'm not talking about evil purpose egregious things. There's that stuff out there that when it comes to alcohol and drugs, there's all kinds of stuff out there. I've seen it, I've heard it, I've counseled upon it. So there's a whole range, and let's try to cover it all. The better we can be, the better the people around us, and the better the world is. If I'm not out being a piece of shit, we all benefit, trust me. For example. So, what is bitterness? An emotional state including feelings of anger, resentment, and hostility, driven by perceived injustices, unmet expectations, failed commitments, suspicions that became true in sexual relationships, but it also applies to personal relationships, I believe. We want to keep that broadened out in various categories. I know that to be true because it's happening to me. And just, a friend that I don't know where he lives. I don't know if 40 years later and call him up and say, hey, remember when we did this and and almost got us arrested because I was a piece of shit and I'm sorry. There's all kinds of stuff. I don't know where these people are. I don't know their names. And it really built and intended to be 40 years later. This stuff was happening then. And before in the first year or so, I could have known these people. I would have known who they are. I could have apologized. I could have set things straight for them. It could have shown them how I was changing. I'm not just, oh, I'm stopped drinking. How am I changing? The better I can articulate to them how I'm changing, the better I can understand it myself. Straighten those lines out, those paths, keep things clear, easy to understand. I hope that's helpful. I do. I hope that's helpful. Anyway, let's look at the victim and the offender perspective. Take it from both sides here, whatever fits. So, because this, in the bitterness, maybe there's some things that have been lost. What's driving the bitterness? What does it connect to? You now know and or have acted upon and or lost something as a result of jealousy, evolved suspicion into bitterness. Maybe the love is gone. Remember when, oh, we're in love, everything's great, and then he's off or she's off sporting somebody else, and yeah. And maybe the sexual relationship's gone too. Maybe the marriage is gone. Where you're left with an STD, sexually transmitted disease, unplanned children, or you plan children and the plans changed, friends are gone, or they've sided with someone else, your belongings are gone, etc. So this bitterness can alter us in tremendous ways. But is that all that's gone? Let's look deeper. How about lost or altered intuition? How about a failed ability to love, trust, take responsible risk? Be happy. Shake off depression. You just can't lose this depression. It just smothers you. Make good decisions. You suffer feelings of doom, gloom, and maybe even a distaste for God because of these things that have happened. Now, I don't know if you were considering God while you were creating this disaster, and I don't mean that facetiously. However, it evolved. Takes two to develop this stuff, if you will. These lost pieces. Because what can happen? This bitterness can drive us down new roads, can drive us into alcoholism, renewing the cycle, promiscuous behaviors, this lack of trust or commitment. It can really cause us to misfire or to not venture out at all. There's a host of possibilities. I don't want to limit it. I just want you to get an idea of the directions. It might not even hurt if you could identify the outcomes of these things. Some of this may come back to your youth, just things that evolved, not necessarily on a sexual, but maybe there too. I don't know where. Let's not limit it. But something that happened back then might drive you now. And if you never get to it, maybe that behavior simply continues and you're not even aware of it. I want to visit, again, Bill had talked about apologizing. This is way too early here for trying to apologize, but it's not too early to understand why. I think I'm beginning to understand this willingness to develop willingness to apologize Maybe this is a process that evolves over time if we let it and we participate in this process. So, why, again, this isn't right now. You need to race off and make an amend, and you don't even quite know what happened in this area. Maybe he's back. Just you certainly can stop hurting people at any time. And it's funny. I often hear, "Oh, I started going to AI. Suddenly, I got to be honest and all this business." But you know what? I fully encourage you to be honest with yourself. Absolutely. And certainly not to be lying to others. But when it comes to getting that level of honesty with others, there's a process. Bill has provided that process. It's better if we can get it started early, not wait years in the program because others simply don't understand it or don't want to look at themselves. It's your choice. It's a personal choice, a personal program. You do it makes sense with you. So Bill has talked about making amends. Let's look at reasons why you may or may not apologize, because there is, except when to do so would injure them or others. So this is just a quick visit because we are beginning step 8 and step 4, so it's fair to contemplate these things. The next time, the next video, we're going to get into what it means to work the steps. Work the steps. Okay? This one step at a time bullshit. Let's see his examples, and that'll be next time, just to get a good understanding. It'll be right from Bill's mouth. So, about apologizing, there's different scenarios in the area of sex. Let's imagine it's a one off. The spouse didn't know you cheated. Do you bring it up and tell them? That's a question to entertain. They don't know, and there's no STDs, for example. Nobody seemingly was injured. You know you're guilty about it. But, oh, honey, I cheated on you. Next thing the marriage is over. I don't know. I don't have those answers. That's something you talk out with a sponsored spiritual advisor. Understand the problem first. How did it happen? How did it get there? And then you'll maybe be better understand what the next step might be at that time. Let's say you were years lying to them and trying to throw them off the scent, and it has affected them in the ways discussed. Imagine that scenario. They were accusing you. You were no, 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 no. Meanwhile, it was yeah, 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 yeah. Maybe you're apologizing to them even if the relationship is over. This gives them a new shot at life and clears up their intuition. Also, you carry the pain of those lies if you cared about the other person, whether you realize it or not. And if you didn't care about the other person, what's up with that? You still live in that sobriety, and that's the kind of arrangement that's going to be supported? I don't know. It's a worthy question. Bill's not done. Okay. He had some other ideas 13 years later. And we're going to look at them later in step 4. And you'll have ample time to process in step 5 before making a mistake that can't be undone. First, take the time to understand yourself, but stop hurting others or protect yourself if necessary. I've spoken to both sides. I've spoken to the victim. I've spoken to the offender in this video. I've tried to show both sides of it. Some of it maybe brought up some painful things. If you're following the process, this format here specifically, I believe, is top to bottom, and you can even pick off one at a time, top to bottom, not left to right. You start going left to right, and this stuff starts to deliver. Could be off and running, drinking. Let's not do that. Top to bottom, drop the ideas, come back, maybe ask the next question. Top to bottom, drop the ideas, come back, you get the idea. Keep yourself safe, keep the people around you safe. This is a very powerful area. Again, the tools to this area were built into us. We have these sexual tools in this intuition, in this huge desire to love and procreate. I don't know if there's a stronger piece in us that could drive us in ways that we don't even understand. And there's risk and there's fear to it, and I get that. Little bit. Let's work this stuff out. The gains, those promises are for you. You can have those if you want them, if you're willing to work for them, if you can and will sort this stuff out, embrace what you can. Don't close your mind off to things. If enough other people suggest, yeah, intuition is a thing, maybe it is. If you haven't experienced, or your life hasn't been so loud you couldn't hear it if you wanted to, turning the music down. And I hope I have been helpful. Ease into this too, and we have one more column to complete, and then we'll complete this particular section now about sex. So, take some time to assemble this list, and then come on back and let's pick over the next column. Well, thank you very much. Have a nice day.
If you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe. Ring the bell to be notified when new content is added. Also, you can support the channel 12-Step Guide with Troyo by donating through PayPal to hsworldservice@yahoo.com. In Step 4, we are laying the groundwork and planting seeds for the 9th step promises. Those promises are: we are going to know a new freedom and a new happiness. We will not regret the past, nor wish to shut the door on it. We will comprehend the word serenity and know peace. No matter how far down the scale we have gone, we will see how our experience can benefit others. That feeling of uselessness and self-pity will disappear. We will lose interest in selfish things and gain interest in our fellows. Self-seeking will slip away. Our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change. Fear of people and of economic insecurity will leave us. We will intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us. We will suddenly realize that God is doing for us what we could not do for ourselves. Keep moving forward. It's worth the effort.